Thanks for coming last night. Wasn't that interesting?
Rather in glass. That was totally weird.
The context was Eric asked me if I would like to fill out Senator Klobuchar's Senate term, and I said I would rather eat glass than do that. So that was an option. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Grateful for this moment. I said I think being up here in this building a lot when it was quiet without the legislators here, and now they're back and the building woke up. It's more apparent than ever, and I'm probably very Minnesotan in this, kind of repress your feelings. A lot of emotion about Melissa and Mark's murder. A lot of emotion for me to be in that chamber for the first time without the speaker. And just to be clear, like I said, we were partners, we had different jobs, but learning state government and the budget, that she was a mentor and the best one you could get about bringing me up to speed, because understanding that's your first responsibility as governor, to understand that budget. So it was bittersweet, but I also think the words that were spoken by everyone is true. This is a human endeavor. And when things feel so entrenched, feels like the status quo is the only thing we can go by, the animosity or whatever, it's in these moments that I think all of us recognize we can do something about that. And that was her note to me then, told me to act, that we could act differently. And I would have to say, I think Senator Gazelka would probably agree. We did, and we got a budget done in a hard year, and that means something. So as far as the session kicking off, I think we'd never want it to be this, but if it was going to be, the members, everyone involved is approaching this, that we've got the people's work to do, which means it's a supplemental budget year bonding bill, but I'm still going to make the case. We've got to do some things around guns, make the safer. We're obviously going to have a conversation about what's befallen Minnesota under this federal occupation. I'm going to put forward once again a complete package on fraud reduction. We got some of that last year. We didn't get everything we need. I hope we do. I think those are areas, especially the pace on fraud, where I think there's some good bipartisan work that can be done. And then for us to try and lay the groundwork in a budget for long-term stability, because I remain incredibly hopeful out of this recent several months of unprecedented federal intrusion that the world, certainly in the country, but I would say the world, sees the character of Minnesota, sees the resiliency of Minnesota, sees the decency of Minnesota. And I've been making this case since I've been governor, creating a place that's the best place in the country to raise kids and to start a business. I think the rest of the country is saying that's where we want to be. And even prior to this, the demographic numbers were showing we were one of the upper Midwestern states, if not the only one, to gain population. So I think there's a lot of opportunities in this moment of tragedy and remembrance, and in this moment of difficult decisions that are going to have to be made. And it felt it up there. I talked to some members, to be candid, that I haven't spoken to in probably a couple years. And it was very cordial and very much aimed at common goals. So just grateful for that. Be glad to take any questions.
Governor, what about the bipartisanship that seems real today? Does that set a new tone and a different tone?
I think so, and I keep coming back to this. We didn't have time, and rightfully so. We finished that session, and then a few days later, Melissa and Mark were murdered. I've told people this, and I was telling them in the moments after we signed that, I think it was some of the best work we'd done. I felt it was some of the best compromised work for the state. I felt it was some of the hardest decisions on long-term fiscal stability that we had ever done, and we got no time to celebrate it. So I think for all of you, we ended a divided, absolutely divided legislature that, if you recall, kicked off with lawsuits and the Supreme Court and burglary and everything else that could have got thrown into that. And we ended with a very fiscally sound budget that everyone could be part of. So in all that's happened between the ending of that session and the start of this one, Minnesota has seen it and been through it. And I think the word I hear in there, and I'll keep coming back to it, is this is a human endeavor and we can do something about it. So look, I'm the eternal optimist. You've heard me say that. The lunchroom taught me to be that. But I'm the one who always tells you that we're going to get a bonding bill by Monday, and then it's 3 weeks later and we get it. But I think it's staying in that frame that I do remain optimistic. I think we can reach some places where we agree, and I think the rest of the country's going to be watching. Has Minnesota been damaged to the point where they can't come back from this? Is it so partisan that they can't get things done? I think the real story that's been missed, one of very few states with divided legislatures, no shutdowns, getting things done. So yeah, I think it holds. I'm going to go into this, and I set it up there. I need to step back, be self-reflective, show some humility, and also to be very candid. I'm pretty freed up to do what needs to be done here without concern about November. And that's I think that's a powerful tool.
Yeah, but how is that going to affect your negotiating style? Freed up from that, or are you going to be tougher?
Yeah, I don't, it's a good question. I think about this. I approach this where it's not as if you compromise your morals or your values or your priorities, but there's a little more calculus to it, both yourself and other members that go into it. It's not as if I'm not going to be thinking about that. I'm not going to jam things through that put difficult situations on members who are working for a greater good. But it also means that I'm going to be the one in the middle of them that brings both together. And I think I can take some difficult positions if it means getting things done. I've said this. I think I have a reputation of being pretty good for the business community. And I say that proudly. Not that that's antithetical of a Democratic position, but I'm the one that pushed for the tax credits on research and developments. I'm the one that pushed for permitting reform. And I think that gives us a little more flexibility where if nobody's sticking up for different areas, I can maybe do that.
Governor,
We'll go here first.
Lindsay was Channel 5.
Yeah.
Fraud, something that people across the state care about. Last year, Office of Inspector General almost made a recession. What do you think should happen this time to creating that watchdog group?
Oh, I think that's fine. I supported it. I was supportive of it last time, but this is not a one-size-fits-all. I think there's a sophistication now in how people are understanding fraud, understanding it's in all states, and I'm saying that's not a deflection. I am accountable for what happens here. It's why I put things forward. I just think the biggest thing I was asking for a long time is give me authority to stop payment. And people are like, yeah, that makes sense. I think if they want to do that, but I think there's more to it. That in itself won't fix it alone. But I do think we're on a path to having probably the strongest program integrity. And I recognize the concerns. They're the concerns of me. I think it's safe to say that I hate this fraud more than anybody because it's taking money from programs that I've advocated for. It's politically damaging, as we all know, even if that was not your only reason. But I think right now, well, we're on offense on this, we're getting it fixed. This is a case, if the Republicans want to fix fraud, this is their moment. If the Republicans want...
Do you think we'll see a bipartisan effort?
Well, it'll depend. If you want to keep talking about it, go ahead. But I think what changed on this, and this was a decision, it's very important to me that a progressive holds the governor's seat. It's not as important that I hold that seat. And that's when I make a decision that now, with me being removed from that equation, there's a golden opportunity here for them to bipartisan come to fix. But if you want to just like continue to go down a road of innuendo and making things up, that doesn't get us there. Bring hard stuff to me. If they get a bill to me with an inspector general, I'll certainly sign it, but that is just one piece of it. There's a lot of other tools we need.
Governor, on the ICE surge, what is the biggest thing that Minnesota can do to deal with that, and how do you get around the problem where the federal government simply ignores it or the federal law supersedes state law?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing we could do is go back to 2024 and vote differently, but with the exception of that, this is an outrageous assault on state sovereignty. It's an outrageous assault on human rights. I think you've seen it, and I appreciate, and I'm going to continue to say this, local reporting around immigration requirements and what state does has been absolutely critical, along with the folks in the street, because what the administration is saying is simply untrue about Minnesota. I saw that, Tom Homan went on and said, now we've got cooperation that we can go into the state jails. They could do that for 30 years. So I think now, for me, we're going to need to see, when they keep saying they need to see cooperation, they are sadly mistaken if they think we are done pursuing the people who committed these atrocities. We need to get a fair, unbiased investigation into this. And you all, I just ask all of you, they told BCA they're not going to. Keep in mind, 3 weeks ago, we had a gentleman shot in the leg, and that night, that very night, The Secretary of DHS came out and said they were attacking a federal officer with the attempt to kill him, and this was because Governor Walz himself caused this. He should be held on charges. And they went ahead and followed through with that. Now we find out, oh yeah, we were wrong about that, that's all gone, and those agents are out, and we might have to do something. Look, the whole country knows that we cannot trust the left hand to investigate the right hand. And so I think one of the things it's going to see, if trust is to be rebuilt, the federal government keeps talking about they need cooperation. We need cooperation. We need accountability. And we've got to figure out what they're going to do to quit the assault on Minnesota based on false pretenses, because this all started with a false pretense. You think a single one of those guys wearing masks out there was super digging into fraud? You think they were down there to understand what a payment system in Medicaid looks like and what we're required by law? I guarantee if you went down to all 3,000 of them, not one damn one of them knew a damn thing about how you would stop fraud in Medicaid that affects all 50 states. So I'm going to keep pushing.
What he said to you about drawing back agents in the state, are you seeing that?
Well, it's hard to say. Yes, I think we are, but look, people on the streets are just like me. We're still seeing actions happening out there. Every time he talks, well, we're going to, maybe we'll have a small security force or whatever. I keep saying this, that the reason I believe they're drawing down is not because I trust what they said, not because they know that this was wrong and went against constitutionality and states' rights. They are drawing down and will continue to draw down because the political damage they are suffering will continue to go on. There is no upside at all to keep ICE agents in Minnesota. They are trying to save face now, which I'm glad to let them. Minnesota needs to cooperate with detainers in public prisons. You're right, Tom, we need to do that. We've always done it, but if you need it, we've done it. And I think that type of posturing, that they're right on the verge of this. So yes, I think they're going to be gone because they have to be gone. If they don't, it's not me they need to worry about. It's the public that's going to go out there to make the case peacefully in a manner that shows this awakened America's conscience, and that will continue on. We have a couple of minutes.
How are the dynamics going to change in negotiations with you no longer running for governor, Lisa Damon is running for governor, Kristen Robbins running for governor, and Melissa Portman no longer here? How is that going to change the dynamics?
It will, I think. I just gotta be candid. I kind of feel like their campaigns ended the same day mine did. So I think all three of us, if you're saying it's Kristen Robbins, Damon, and myself, we're kind of all in the same boat. I think for all of us, this will be our last session up here. With that being said, there's going to be a lot of posturing. I'm not interested in messaging. I'm interested in getting the tools I need to fix the fraud so that I can leave the state knowing that I did everything possible that fixed, things that have been going on for a long time. I have made promises to families that we're going to do something about guns, and I want to continue to focus on that. The Annunciation families deserve it. I am going to ask the legislature to do again, and this is a really interesting thing, that the House Republicans were opposed to my cuts last time because it's tough. You got to do some of this, but I'm going to be able to make a strong case to put the state on sound fiscal footing. If they think they've got an outside chance of winning, it would be in their best interest to work with me to get these things to a level place. If it becomes just a messaging and we don't get a bonding bill, we have a budget that doesn't work, we don't do anything around the things that matter, fraud and other things, that's a disaster because I think the public wants to see it. So I actually think we're in a really unique position. I think it's an opportunity just to do the work, to figure out to compromise. I'm more than willing to compromise. And again, when it comes to fraud, no one wants to see this fixed more than me. And that's coming from some of the U.S. attorneys. Now, our problem is all of them are gone. I mean, that's the story that's in here that is a damn nightmare. But we are picking up folks to be able to do this work. Our team is, I think, setting a really good path to have a lot of this tightened up. But I'm going to need some legislative fixes, to be honest. So I do think there's hopefulness. Yeah.
Governor, when you said picking up people to do this work, what did you mean pick up, like prosecution?
Yeah, trying to pick up more teams in there. I'm going to ask them for more to be working on this. I'm going to make the pitch to all of you now. You heard me say it. I said it to the newspaper associations. One thing that would help is more transparency across all government. You continue to ask for data practices. The legislature needs to be subject to data practices. There is absolutely no reason they don't. And the counties need to have a part of where the OLA. I think we should expand the reach and the capacity for the legislative auditor to reach to the whole system. Because one of the problems we had is Minnesota's move to de-warehousing people and to getting people back into the community. We outsource a lot of this to nonprofits, which we found out can be very dangerous. That is true also of managed care organizations. It's also true of the counties. Now, I'm not blaming the counties. I'm not saying anything, but what I'm saying is the chain of custody and effectiveness in these programs and the money doesn't just end with the state. And there's a gap in there that I'm going to need more help. So I think we need to bring more people on to be able to do that. I think we need to be people who understand this whole system. When you talk to somebody about Medicaid funding, whatever, it's complex, and that leads to openings for fraud. So I'm actually very bullish on this. Again, if you're a Republican and you're sitting there and you're saying fraud is a biggest issue, now I think affordability is an issue too, and other things we'll be talking about, but if you think it's the biggest issue, you've got no better partner in me. You tell me if there's something that'll fix it, I'll fix it, but you don't get to make stuff up. You don't get to have anonymous people said this. You don't get to do this. Bring hard, concrete things, and I'll be the first to say that's a great idea. We should do it. But I'm not going to cancel those programs.
You know the devil's in the details when it comes to an assault weapon ban and
Yeah.
what the wording is and how kind of.
That is a trick to get us off of it. It's very clear.
Say, this is what I think it should be.
Yes.
I would push for it. Like,
Yes.
it's an actual.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the automatic, the repetitive fire, the pistol grip on it, the ability of that. Yes, that is one of the things to say. We can't really tell what an assault weapon ban is. We know they make a difference. I am still convinced it will make a difference. Republicans are going to have to square that circle of legal gun owners shouldn't be allowed if we don't like who they are. We know with Alec Preddy's murder, it caused them a lot of grief. I think there's an opportunity for common sense. I've said it all along. I am all supportive of legal gun ownership. But it should be with weapons that are not made for war. They should be stored properly. If you want to carry them in this building or whatever, you need to be licensed. I trust those people are licensed and trained. So, look, I'm grateful to all of you, and I don't think it gets said enough. Many of you were friends with Melissa Portman. Many of you have watched your communities have people in them during this time. Many of you have children or family members that are in school when the Annunciation shooting started. So I'm going to make the case again that I certainly wish we would get out of the federal administration. The freedom and the autonomy of the media has been absolutely critical. And for many of you, I think it was the finest hour during some of our toughest times here of being able to report the stories. And I am convinced that the hard journalistic work that was done around what Minnesota does on immigration convinced the White House that this was the wrong fight in the wrong place. So I want to say thank you to all of you. This legislative session gives us a chance to reset a lot of things. I am hopeful for it. I hope we can fish together at the fishing opener, and I would like to end on time, and then I can start looking for work. So appreciate all of you. Thank you.